Hi, welcome to today's tutorial. Today's tutorial is about two broad topics. One of them is photographic, which has been the subject of a lot of these tutorials, and the other one is all about safety. When we work in photographic studios, we're working with a lot of electricity. We're working with sharp things. We're working with flammable things. We're working with all these things that would be the great weapon in a murder mystery. It could be that Colonel Plum killed Mrs. Scarlett in the library using a photographic hot light. It's dangerous, and it's something that you have to be aware of. The worst time to make a plan for what you're going to do in case of an emergency is after the emergency happens. As Paul Simon says in some of his songs, you gotta have a plan, man. You got to have a plan before the thing happens. It's important to realize that one of the most important accessories you can have on your photographic set is a fire extinguisher. This particular fire extinguisher is my friend, but also it handles type A fires, which are for wood and trash and paper. It handles type B fires, which are for liquids like gasoline and alcohol and all that other bad stuff, or good stuff. And the third one is it handles electrical fires also. In use, you pull this pin, you aim this hose, which you pull out of here, at the base of the fire. You stand about 6 feet away and you squeeze the handle and watch it put the fire out. They also have a little gauge on it that lets you know when the fire extinguisher is extinguished and has to be replaced. And it's really something that you should be aware of. You should have one in your studio. And the whole idea is to avoid having you, your workers on the set, your friends in the studio, avoid becoming crispy critters. Keep it in mind. Have a plan, man. A lot of times we put colored gels in front of our lights for a special effect. They do them in theaters, they do them on movie sets, we do them on still life sets. There are two brands of filters that are made. One of them is Lee, which is a good brand, and the other one which is Roscoe, which is a good brand. I'm not going to say that one brand is better than the other. But these are Roscoe Cine gels. They are polycarbonate. Cine gels are polycarbonate, and this is a swatch book of all the color gels that Roscoe makes. These are polyester Roscoe gels. Polyester gels also come in a variety of colors, but polyester melts and burns at about 100 degrees cooler temperature than a polycarbonate filter does. If you're going to if you have room for airspace between your light and the gel, then you can get by with polyester filters. But if the light is going to be really close to the gelatin material that you're going to be using, the gel filter you're going to be using, the polycarbonate ones are the way to go. If you have room for air circulation, you have the polyester ones, which might give you more color choices. In either event, you still want to have your fire extinguisher somewhere close by. We're going to show you what happens now when you burn a polyester filter and when you burn a polycarbonate filter. There's going to be black arid smoke in here, and we hope the fire alarms don't go off. This one is polyester. This one is polycarbonate. All right. When the polyester one burns, which is what we're going to do first, it's going to make acrid black smoke. And because of that, I'm not going to use a lot of it. And when the polycarbonate one burns, you'll see that it sort of melts but doesn't really go up in flames. First, the polyester one. Now this is a cigarette lighter, but a 1,000-watt quartz light I can guarantee you is hotter than this. Now, next one is polycarbonate. It takes a lot more heat and it doesn't burn. Now, I want you to know that this is not smell-o-vision, but the studio that we're working in right now has an acrid smell to it, and there are little bits of black ash floating around in the air. Now that we've talked about fire hazards in the studio, and hopefully some of you are going to be going out and getting a fire extinguisher to have in your studio, I'd like to talk to you about sharp-edged items, knives and other things that can slice your throat. All right. We use things in the studio that are sharp as razor blades. Actually, we use single-edge razor blades in the studio. We also use X-Acto knives. This is a number 1 X-Acto handle with a number 11 X-Acto blade, which is the standard blade. The X-Acto knife is used for lightweight cutting. I can use a single-edge razor blade for more heavyweight cutting. And both of them, I use blades like water, because a sharp blade really makes a clean cut, and as the blade gets dull and wears out, it isn't worth keeping. Probably of all 3 things that I have here in front of me, this is the safest. This is a utility knife, and it's used for cutting cardboard or mat board or anything heavy. And its claim to fame is that the blade can be retracted into the handle. That makes a huge difference, because when you put it away in a drawer and you grab for that tool in that drawer, chances are good you're not going to slice a finger off in your search for the tool. Not only do you have to worry about using these things carefully on the studio, but you also have to think about what you're going to do when you have to dispose of them. A lot of people turn around and take a piece of gaffer tape and put it over the blade of a single-edge blade when they're about to throw it away. They fold it over, and this blade is safe to throw away. However, it's sort of a pain to constantly have to rip a little piece of gaffer tape off of the roll just to save yourself when you go to throw away a razor blade. And it's not so easy to wrap a piece of gaffer tape around the point of a single-edge razor blade. One of the things that I've found that's really helpful is when a blade is done, I take the blade and the single-edge blade, and I take it and I place it into a container that I picked up at my local pharmacy. This one says CVS on the cover. And I put it in there and I close the cap. And when this container is full, it holds about 200 or 300 blades, I throw out the entire container. That way there's less of a chance that there's going to be a blade floating around in my garbage can that I'm going to run into when I'm rummaging through the trash because I threw out a piece of something that I need to retrieve. The other advantage is that a loose blade floating around in the bottom of your garbage pail that's lined with a plastic liner can rip the plastic liner at the bottom, and when you go to take out the plastic liner, the entire garbage bag splits open and you end up having to clean up a mess in your studio. Not only do you have to clean up a mess, but the chances are good there's going to be a loose blade floating around in that mess that you have to deal with also. It's an easy thing to do, and it's worthwhile doing, and it will make sure that you don't end up slicing a finger off by mistake. Just because something isn't made of steel doesn't mean it can't be dangerous and has to be treated with respect. What we have here is a sheet of Set Shop Tough Lux, which is my favorite diffusion material. Usually you have lights shining through it to light a subject on the other side of it, and it creates a soft, neutral light that is very, very pretty and really a worthwhile tool to have. We're constantly using it in my studio. I buy it by the roll. But Set Shop Tough Lux is about 30 mils, 30 thousandths of an inch thick, and when it's stretched taut, either whether it's hung from a pole with a weight at the bottom of it, or just as I have it here with a Set Shop sandbag and a spring clamp on the top of it and the sandbag on the bottom of it, the edge of it can become sharp enough that it can do a big bunch of damage. To show you just the kind of damage it can do, I'm going to take a standard hot dog and I'm going to run it along the edge of the Set Shop Tough Lux, mainly because I don't want to sacrifice the edge of my finger to show you how sharp that edge of the Tough Lux can be. Now, I'm going to push the hot dog along the Tough Set Lux, and if you look, that could be your finger. It's something to keep in mind when you decide to run your hand along the edge of a piece of Tough Set Lux. It's something that's worth being aware of and being careful of. There's an old story that photographers like to take double precautions. It's been said that some photographers wear belts and suspenders at the same time, just so that they have a backup ready at hand in case a catastrophe happens. This is a pair of safety glasses. They protect your eyes from flying debris. If you're working with a power tool, a power saw, a power drill, a grinding machine, and a speck of something flies off the machine and heads for your eye, you want either this or this between your eye and that speck. You can't afford to lose your eyesight. These are safety goggles. These are safety glasses. Either one of them is important. Sometimes when I'm wearing safety goggles, when I'm working with a power tool, they fog up because the sweat on my brow turns to steam and fills the glasses, fills the goggles. When that happens, I switch to safety glasses. Both of these products are really inexpensive. And although I'm not saying that you have to wear them all the time, when you're working with power tools, when you're working with drills and grinders and Dremel moto tools and things like that, and power saws, it's worthwhile to invest the couple of bucks that these cost and wear one or the other. You've got to protect your eyesight, because what you're doing when you do that is you're protecting your profession. It's important. Right now, we're going to move to the photography part of this tutorial, and we're going to show you how to do a technique called in-camera masking to take an interesting and exciting picture of these safety glasses. We're starting to set up our photograph of the safety glasses. Our safety glasses are going here. They're going to be resting on a 2x4. You can see the camera's position back there. This light is going to fit behind this tough Rolux screen. And what I'm going to do now to start the picture off is put a series of red gels onto this grid holder that's on this light in the background. The reason why I'm using a grid holder is so that I get the gels a little bit further away from the light source than if they were right against it. It has to do with what this whole video is about when we were talking about safety. If I can get some air circulation between the grid holder and the gel, the whole thing becomes more a safer situation with less chance of fire. So the first piece of gel is going on. It's a red. Then I'm going to use 2 layers of orange gel. I'm mixing colors here because I want the whole thing to sort of all come together into a melange of colors like that all mix. So here's, whoops, here's a bit 2 orange gels over that first red one that I applied. And then I'm immediately going to add 2 pink ones to my gel pack that's back here. And each one is being held on by a successive piece of gaffer tape, and the gels are misaligned slightly so that the gaffer tape covers both pieces of gels. Once I get the third piece of gel where I want it, which is what I've just done, I'm then going to take a 4th piece of tape and I'm going to cut it in half and make it into a relatively long strip, and I'm just going to hook all the gels together and tie them to the bottom of the stand. Now, to see what this color looks like, I can't leave the modeling light on for you, because if I do, I run the risk of the whole thing bursting into flame. But I will turn it on and off just momentarily so that you can see it. Here's what it looks like. All right? Now, let's take a second to explain what's going to be happening here. I'm going to lower this sheet of Set Shop Tough Lux down in front of my set. After I lower it in front of my set, I am then going to put the diffusion frame approximately here and have a light coming through it. If I take a picture with the diffusion frame, with the light coming through the diffusion frame and this light on, the fact that the Set Shop Tough Lux is white will make this color wash out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the Set Shop Tough Lux in front of this light. I'm going to place the diffusion frame, and then I'm going to cover this roll of diffusion with a piece of black velvet. I'm going to sandbag my tripod so the camera doesn't move, and I'm going to take one photograph of these glasses with the black velvet behind them. So the glasses are lit and the background will be black. Then I'm going to turn off the lights in the front that are lighting the glasses, and I'm going to take a picture. I'm going to remove the black velvet, and I'm going to take a picture just of the red gelled light. Then, in Photoshop, I'm going to drop those 2 images one on top of the other, because the picture of the colored light coming from behind the glasses will give me a perfect silhouette of the glasses, a black outline. And the picture of the glasses themselves against the black velvet background will fit right into that silhouette. The 2 pictures will come into register. And then, by working with the opacity of the 2 pictures in Photoshop, I can get it to look like the background and the glasses are one picture taken together. This is the safety glasses I want to photograph. To make them look more exciting, I've decided that in the eye on one side of the glass, I'm going to put a reflection of like a star. We're going to be working with a 36-inch square diffusion frame, and I'm going to put the tape on lightly because I want to get it off when I'm all done. The first piece is going to go diagonally across the frame from one corner to the other. It doesn't really have to touch the frame, it just sort of has to be very lightly placed on it. There's going to be a light shining through the bottom of this thing, and it's going to be reflected in my safety glasses. We're going to work right now on lighting the front of our eyeglasses, the front of our subject. I have here a Matthews grip that I'm putting onto this light stand, and then I'm going to clamp the diffusion frame we worked on before, the one that we created with the star pattern on it, and I'm going to clamp it to this Matthews frame. Our last step is going to be adding a gridded light that'll create a rim of light on the top of the eyeglass frames. That little line of light will make the eyeglass frames look more three-dimensional. Then we're going to put all of the parts together and do two separate exposures of what we've just created. What I plan to do is I plan to take a picture of the glasses against this black velvet background. Then I'm going to turn off the lights that are lighting the glasses, and I am going to take away the black velvet, and I am going to turn on the red light, and then I'm going to make a second exposure. What I've created when I do that is two separate pictures where one is masked and fits perfectly into the other. This is our grid light that's causing the rim light on the top of the glasses. That's our frontal light that's creating the star-shaped reflection in the right eyeglass of the safety glasses. This is our black velvet drape that's going to cover the red blob and let it stay nice and really intensely red instead of pink when we light the front of the set. And that's our tutorial for the day. I hope you like it, and I hope you learned something. I hope you had a good time. We certainly enjoyed making it for you. Take care.